School janitor secretly helps a student. Days later, a luxury car arrives, and everyone freezes. The worn-out mop glided across the tiled floor as Mr. Johnson, the school janitor, hummed an old tune under his breath. At Lincoln High, most students barely noticed him, just an old man in faded overalls, pushing a broom. But he noticed them. Every single one. That's how he spotted Daniel. Daniel was a quiet kid, the type who stayed in the background. He always carried a heavy backpack, and his sneakers had holes in them. Mr. Johnson saw the boy linger near the cafeteria doors after lunch, pretending to tie his shoes while sneaking glances at the uneaten food trays. It didn't take much to figure out the truth. Daniel was hungry. One evening, as Mr. Johnson finished cleaning up, he saw Daniel sitting alone in the empty hallway, staring at his notebook, his pencil barely moving. The janitor walked over and sat beside him. "Everything all right, son?" Daniel hesitated before nodding. But Mr. Johnson had been around long enough to recognize a forced smile. "School getting tough?" he pressed gently. Daniel sighed. "Yeah. And I don't think I can stay in the tutoring program anymore. My mom lost her job, and we can't afford the bus fare. I'd have to walk 5 miles home in the dark." Mr. Johnson's heart ached. He had known struggle too. Growing up in a poor neighborhood, he had fought for every opportunity. He couldn't let this boy give up. "Tell you what," he said. "I'll make sure you get home safe if you stay in that program. No charge." Daniel's eyes widened. "You do that?" "Of course," Mr. Johnson said, patting the boy's shoulder. "No kid should have to give up on their future over a bus ride." So, for weeks, after finishing his janitorial duties, Mr. Johnson quietly drove Daniel home. He never mentioned it to anyone, and Daniel, out of respect, kept it to himself. Then one Friday, Daniel was absent. The next Monday, too. By Wednesday, Mr. Johnson began to worry. And then, it happened. A sleek, black luxury car rolled into the school parking lot. The kind that made people stop mid-step. The students and staff froze, whispering in awe. Out stepped a sharply dressed man, looking around until he spotted Mr. Johnson near the school entrance. "Are you Mr. Johnson?" the man asked, walking up with an air of deep respect. "Yes, sir," the janitor replied, wiping his hands on his overalls. The man extended his hand. "I'm Daniel's father. My son told me everything." Mr. Johnson's heart pounded. He hadn't expected recognition, let alone this. "I lost my job months ago," Daniel's father continued. "We were struggling, and I felt like a failure. But you stepped in when I couldn't. You gave my son hope." His voice wavered. "I got a new job last week. A good one. And it's because of people like you that my son never gave up." He reached into his pocket and handed Mr. Johnson a set of keys. "This car, it's yours." A hush fell over the crowd. Mr. Johnson's hands trembled as he looked at the gleaming vehicle, then back at Daniel's father. I can't accept this," he stammered. "You can," the man insisted. "And you will. Because sometimes, the smallest acts of kindness deserve the biggest rewards." Tears welled in Mr. Johnson's eyes. Not because of the car, but because, for the first time in years, he truly felt seen. As the students and teachers erupted into applause, Daniel ran up and hugged him tight. "Thank you, Mr. Johnson," he whispered. The old janitor smiled, patting the boy's back. "Anytime, kid. Anytime." And as the sun set over Lincoln High, a simple truth settled into everyone's hearts: kindness, no matter how small, has the power to change lives. And sometimes, life finds a way to give back.